Hi guys, welcome to the Classes Corner. I'm Kat, and this week I'm going to be looking at the character of Medea. Now, Medea is a very complicated character, both textually and academically. People can go their entire lives studying her and only her and then still have more to study. So in this video it's only really going to be a quick overview of the character, very superficial. It's not going to be an in-depth look. I have studied her before in my A-levels and my undergraduate degree and my master's degree, but again this will be quite superficial. It'll be mostly my opinion of certain texts and the impact the character of Medea has had on both ancient literature and modern culture as well. If you don't know, Medea is a princess of Colchis. She aided Jason and the Argonauts to get the Golden Fleece. In return, Jason promised to marry her, and she helped him escape Colchis with the Golden Fleece, returned back to Greece with him, had children with him, and then the children die. Now, there are different versions of the myth and different interpretations of Medea as a character. The typical example, and when I say the typical example, I mean the most influential example of Medea in texts, is the tragedy Medea by Euripides. There are earlier versions of the Medea myth, but in Euripides, Medea is a vengeful woman because Jason has left her and her children for another woman, a princess, so she is no longer in a safe position because she is a foreigner in Greece, and then in her rage she kills her own children to get revenge upon Jason, making sure he has no heirs. She kills his wife-to-be and their children, and her and Jason's children, so Jason can't have any heirs. She then flees to Athens on this chariot led by dragons, and she is portrayed as more of a witch character. She's portrayed as very vengeful. She's very obsessed with her honour and her pride and typically masculine things, and she is seen as quite an evil character. This isn't, while by no means it's not the Euripides isn't by no means the first example of Medea killing her children, it is the one that sort of solidified that version of the myth. In other texts, Medea, which many of us have lost, but we still know that these are versions of the myths, that either the children always die. That is an aspect. The children always die because Jason being without heirs is a part of his heroic character. Like, it's a very important part that Jason that heroes don't really get good ends typically, and Jason doesn't have any heirs, so it ends his line, and that's very important for an ancient Greek man. So the children always die, but in earlier versions of the myth they could either have died, they either died by accident, there was an accident, the citizens could have killed, the Greek citizens could have killed the children because they blamed Medea for killing their princess. Some versions have Medea killing them accidentally, like not meaning to kill them and being tormented by that. Some versions have Hera killing the children because Zeus fancied Medea. Like, there's a lot of different versions. Children always die, but it's only in a few of them when Medea actively killed them herself, knowingly kills them herself, and the Euripides version is the version. There wasn't, even in ancient literature, there is a clear distinction between before the play was released, and I can't actually remember what year it was released in the festival. It didn't win, by the way. The Athenians didn't particularly like it. It was a bit too controversial because it had Medea getting away with that consequence, and having a foreign woman getting away from killing Greek royalty in Greek, like getting away with that consequence, and then going to Athens and finding refuge in Athens. The Athenian audiences didn't particularly like that, so it didn't win that competition that year, but it did become so influential afterwards then, well, You can really see it, and I'll put up there when they won, when Medea was first performed. So you can actually see a distinct thing from before Medea was performed by Euripides performed, and then after, because as I said, there were these different versions after, but then in literature before, and then when Medea was performed after that, you can see a distinct change in the literature representing Medea. After that, she is very much always portrayed as a witch. She is very much always portrayed as a murderess. She is often very portrayed as very, very foreign. She is seen as the ultimate evil woman. Like, if you have, in the ancient Greek novels, which I studied in my masters, when the heroines of these novels sort of are feeling quite sorry for themselves and are thinking that they're doing something quite bad, like in Carius and Caliroi, when, spoilers for this by the way, whatever, when Caliroi, the character, is thinking of aborting her child so they won't be born a slave, she starts to think of like, oh, I am so evil like Medea, I am worse than Medea. Medea becomes this tentpole of evil women, and when someone is seen to be an evil woman, they are compared to Medea. So there is a very different shift, and I think that shift has moved very much to the modern perspective of the character. Like, there aren't, most modern perspectives will base, like the ancient literature started to do, and did after the Euripides play, the modern interpretations will not look to older versions, they will look to Euripides. Euripides really set up the canon for Medea. And her character becomes, because of the way that Euripides portrayed her, which in that he portrayed her as the ultimate anti-person to the Greek psyche. She is everything a proper Greek person should not be. For a fact, she is a foreign woman, foreign woman with a lot of power, and that in the ancient Greek perspective is just not okay. She is a foreign woman with a lot of power. She delves in magic, which is what, again, not what a Greek person should do, and there is a perspective, actually very interesting perspective on magic there, that magic is seen as not what the typical cultic practices of the state are. So she goes against the state. She is worried about honour and glory, which are very, very masculine concepts in ancient Greece. So her as a woman being very concerned about that, and and not just her reputation as a woman, but being concerned with her glory and her honour, that is not what a woman should be, and it's not what a Greek woman should be. The fact that she kills her own children is the complete antithesis of what a person should do, obviously. I mean, the idea of a person killing their children is obviously horrendous to any audience, ancient or modern, but the fact that she does this for revenge because of her honour and glory, as discussed previously, masculine traits, is just, as a mother killing her children, is just so awful. And then the fact that she does get away scot-free, she simply escapes the situation, she wins in that play, where humans aren't supposed to win. It's not just women or foreigners aren't supposed to win, but when people do things that are against the state and are against the gods, such as practicing non-state regulated cult things like magic, and when murdering family, that should lead to pollution, and that should, in the ancient Greek mind, lead to consequences. I mean, look at plays like Oedipus, like, even though he does it unknowingly, he still faces the consequences, and Medea does not face that. So she becomes not only a foreign woman doing wrong things, she becomes sort of beyond human because she doesn't face these consequences. And I think a lot of the portrayals of her do sort of encapsulate that. If you look at Obviously there's some examples, she's not portrayed quite like that in Jason the Argonauts the movie. That actually bases quite a lot off the Argonautica, which is a later text that sort of makes Medea's issue with Jason more like she loved him because of the influence of the gods, and that makes it a little like that, not quite redeems her, but it sort of adds another element there. Also, by the way, Euripides is also very famous in that play, in that Medea by Euripides is the first time the words "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned" comes through, so it's even more influential than just the Medea character. Like, you've heard that quote before, even if you've never heard of Medea, so there's that. But yeah, in modern pop culture you do see things like Jason the Argonauts. You see she was also portrayed as the main villain as a character in the BBC Atlantis series, but that never really went anywhere, but it was all meant to be like, oh, Medea, ooh, that never went anywhere. She's also seen in the Percy Jackson series for a little bit. Again, she's very villainous, very witchy, very threatening. Medea by Euripides is a very adapted play because it is so famous and so influential. Out of tragedies, it is a tragedy that's adapted a lot. There are some good DVDs of it if you can track them down. There are lots of interpretations of performance. So she is a very influential character. Also, most vengeful woman stories do have links to her somewhere. She is the key vengeful woman. So if you want to check out the play, definitely check out Euripides. Hesiod also has some versions of her. We do have some lost text, but you can do some good Googling basically to see other versions of her. And basically you can work with the character of Medea a lot. There's a lot of interpretations that if you wanted to do anything with her, both studying or making a story, there's lots you can do with her character. So if you want to find out more, check her out, read the play, read Euripides. It is the sort of canon version, if there is any sort of canon version of ancient myths. And I will see you guys next week with probably a video on another ancient woman who's less influential than Medea, but still very interesting to look at, which is Hecate, the queen of the Trojans. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. If you have any questions about Medea, just comment below, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye guys.